multiple suicide attempts. I was thinking of ways to die, so I thought I was depression.
You don't have to go through this alone. I'm going to be there with you.
45,000 people in the U.S. lost their lives to suicide. The emotional, social, and financial toll.
Suicide is one of 3 leading causes of death that are on the rise. What are the reasons and how can we prevent suicidal thoughts? All these questions will be answered by Dr. Anne Shugat, who will provide the data from CDC's National Violent Death Reporting System.
In 2016 alone, 45,000 people in the U.S. lost their lives to suicide. Between 1999 and 2016, suicide rates increased among all age groups younger than 75 years. We found that suicide rates increased in nearly every state across the nation. But according to our data, fewer than half of the people who died by suicide had a known mental health condition. Our research found that those people who died by suicide and did not have a mental health condition previously diagnosed were somewhat more likely than those with a mental health condition to struggle with relationship problems or loss. But very importantly, these circumstances were likely to occur in all people who died by suicide, regardless of whether or not they had a diagnosed mental health condition. To help prioritize prevention, CDC developed Preventing Suicide, a technical package of policy programs and practices. These strategies include teaching coping and problem-solving skills to help people manage life's challenges. Other strategies in the technical package are designed to support people who may already be struggling by providing effective treatment and crisis intervention strategies. Last and very important, the technical package describes approaches to prevent future suicide risk among people who have attempted suicide or have lost a friend or loved one to suicide.
There are 5 activities that, accordingly to Dr. John Draper, can be done by anyone to prevent suicide of our friends and loved ones.
There's a few things, really basic things, kind of like CPR. 5 steps. One is ask the question. If you ask somebody, and you can ask it in a way that's, look, Kevin, I know you've been having a lot of hard times recently, and sometimes when people feel that way, they have some pretty dark thoughts and they think about suicide. Do you ever think about that? So you can do it in a caring way, a non-judgmental way, in a way that isn't filled with fear or anxiety, but caring. The second thing is ask them what they're thinking about doing, because if there's something like, if they're going to get a gun or something like that, you need to know that so you can try to stand in between them and that thing they're going to do and just say, you know what, let me just hold on to your gun for a little while, just till you get through this time. The third thing is listen, be there, non-judgmentally, just listen. And you know what, friends can do that. Like, therapists can't say to you, Kevin, you're never gonna be alone with this. But friends and loved ones can say that, and that's what you wanna hear. You're not gonna have to be alone. I'm gonna be here, I understand, I'm gonna take care of you. Bring in others. So it's not just your friends, like, okay, it's just us dealing with this. It's gonna be, no, we gotta get you to your clinic, or we gotta call a hotline, or we gotta get some professionals, or bring in other family members. So create a circle of support so it's not just the 2 of you. And the last thing is following up. Make a little schedule. When's a good time for me to check in with you, see how things are going? Just knowing that your friends are thinking about you after you've been through a crisis makes a big difference. The research is clear on all of this stuff.
Andy Grant is a suicidal attempt survivor who shares his experience and the process that helped him to recover from depression and suicidal thoughts.
I had multiple suicide attempts through my teens and 20s. Because one thing I've discovered for myself is that anytime you've seriously contemplated ending your own life, that thought will always be there. I hit my first big period of depression again, and this was like 1993. I think I'm like 24 years old. I could feel it coming. I was thinking of ways to die. I knew I didn't want to continue this way, but instead of going the old path of harming myself, trying to get myself out, I consciously chose to put myself into a hospital. I get out of the hospital, and I'm looking for a counselor. I finally had a counselor that I really liked. Usually it had been women, but this guy made me feel at ease. He like confessed stories about himself that didn't make me think like I was less of a man because I was going through this shit. Men need a safe place to admit they don't have it all together. I think men are all about the act, and the act is bullshit. And I knew from an early age that I wasn't good at acting like everything's fine. I really started to see that I was supported. It was like people cared. I was blown away by that. I didn't know people cared. Probably, again, looking like age 35, I really decided there's got to be another way. And that's when I discovered meditation and energy work, really began to just feel better and kind of generate and control my emotional flow. And I went to Suicide Survivor Support Group and found out that me telling my story actually helped other people and made me feel good too. So I discovered that I was very empathic. I could really feel the energy and emotions of people around me. So whenever I felt any negative emotion, I thought that was me. So I thought I was depression. I had this distorted notion that suicidal thoughts keep coming back to me because I'm supposed to die. But now I've realized that no, that's just distorted thinking that I'm used to, so it shows up often because I'm used to it. Having a suicidal thought and taking a suicidal action are very different. I find, contrary to everything people told me growing up, each decade of my life gets better.
Everyone in the community can help prevent suicide risk by learning warning signs of suicide and help to respond effectively.